Hey guys, my name is Raw Skye and this is JJ, and we have the Raw Food Podcast. And we both healed ourselves with raw foods. We love raw foods, and today we are talking about raw food abundance mindset. Hey JJ,
Yes, hello. Good to see you. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on. I'm so appreciative of this. And I apologize for our technical or my technical difficulties with my camera earlier for everyone that was here. And I'm a few minutes made us late, so I apologize.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. So I am very excited about today's topic because abundance mindset, I feel, is like how I feel like I learned this lesson from like food and nature, and you
Mhm.
then carry it on, and it's my whole life has changed. And when people look at someone's life, like I guess like even mine and how much it's changed, is it's like, what was the mindset? What were the thoughts? It's like I literally have to constantly concentrate on self-love, and that it's just plentiful. Like that it's like it's there for me all the time. What about you?
Yes, like I was just reflecting on this the other day because I was creating a video and I said, when I first went raw vegan, that very first day, coming from like the diet that I was coming from, all the, regular meat, dairy products, and to be going into a diet where I'm only going to have fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, right? I actually went to the store with that mindset. I can pick anything from the fruit section, from the vegetable section, from the nut section, from the sprout section. And I went in and I was actually really, now that I look back on it, reframed it into abundance. So I was thinking about what is it that I can have. Had I went in there with a list of everything I couldn't have, I probably would have turned around and left back out. So I'm like, the fact that I was able to frame it as abundance, like all these different beautiful things I can have. And it was like I was like a kid in like a candy store, for lack of a better term, in the produce section. Like, oh wow, I'm like seeing these, things in a different light now that it was all I was going to be eating. So I think that has helped me along my journey and it's helped me in life. Like we were just talking about, thinking our mindset is so important, and it builds on each other, right? Because when I started eating raw, then it even got into that, it kept me in a positive zone.
I love, you're saying that about how you went to the shop and you're like, I can have anything. And you're like a kid in a candy shop. My experience was exactly the same. Like that was, and what's funny is I was thinking then, why is that different than walking into the shops and feeling restriction when you should essentially be able to have more? And when I think back, is I think there's a subconscious level of the brain that cuts in. Well, even conscious layer that when you walk in to a supermarket, I most of my life from my teens was like, that's got wheat, that's got gluten, that's low fat, high fat. But you are over processing, and there is a fear or pain element with most foods, which is not consciously always registered. So I feel like when I used to shop, it was very like narrowed into a shelf. Or not that I shopped for years. In truth, it was always delivered because I was so sick. But even in that respect, it was very specific and I wouldn't touch anything else. Like you, when I went raw, I literally would go online because it was during COVID and I was still sick at the start and be like, I can get herb, 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 herb. I can get sprout. I can get nut, 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 nut. It was like abundance, like straight away. And I'd never experienced that. And I think the connotation in my brain when I was grabbing those things online was no pain, no suffering. Like I already knew it, that these things were not going to harm me. Whereas I think when you shop a lot, even if it's not going to harm you, you've categorized the stimulation as like, almost like a drug shopping, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But
Right.
like, but like it's a lot of, because a lot of people say the lifestyle is so expensive. And I promise you, I started working. I didn't need surgeries. I didn't need all these medications. I wasn't buying alcohol. I wasn't buying vapes. I wasn't smoking. I stopped buying hair products. I do use them again now. I stopped buying makeup. I do wear some makeup now, but this is when I was healing, right? Didn't have my nails done. That stuff, that like keeping myself together, Or like
Mhm.
any time I've been well, their things, or even the hair products and moisturizers, always had those. They were not a priority. My whole priority, and to this day, is food first. Because to me, that it's like me going into a shopping center is going into a garden where there's everything spread out in front of you. It's just prepackaged or pre-picked. And I'm like, I feel like this today and that today. And then that, I swear to God, that abundance. And then I go out in nature and I'm like, nature's so plentiful. You've got beaches, you've got mountains, you've got flowers, you've got trees, you've got all of this abundance. And then when you move indoors into my life, I'm like, there's this person and that person. I want to create this and I want to create that. And if lack starts to come into my life, all I have to do is turn around and be like, okay, I need to have some self-care in a shower or make myself my favorite salad tonight. Like my abundance comes completely from the raw foods, nature, self-love. And if I've got that right, my entire life, like the reason I travel, the reason I am running, the reason there's Pilates, the reason I feel good about myself is completely conducive to that abundant mindset with raw foods and staying on raw foods too. As soon as I start to be like, I can't have this and I can't have that, it never lasts very long because
Mhm.
then I'm like, I won't stay here. I don't want to do this. I'm not happy. If I'm not happy here, my life starts to reflect that. So,
I think we've talked about this too. Like you mentioned this on previous episodes, and I've talked about it. But we always think of when, like for me, everything else in life, I don't usually go into it with a what I don't want or what I can't have. Like I was as a kid or something, if you're going to go to the store, you're like, oh, I want this. No, I don't want this. But whenever we think about diet and our lifestyle, we automatically sometimes, just because of our like the way we're brought up or whatever it could be, we automatically think it's restrictive. And that's what I would say, like when you start thinking about this diet, it's the very first thing. I think you mentioned it on like our first episode. Whenever you tell people I'm going raw, they're like, but how do you give up such and such, or how do you not? I remember you saying it, and that's so
oh,
true. Nothing else in life do we do that. I don't say I'm going to the mall to buy, a new shirt, or I'm going to the mall and I'm not going to buy a pair of shoes. Like we always talk about what we're going to like be able to add to our life. But like when it comes to food, and especially a diet that you're not sure about, and, something new, you automatically, I feel like, are thinking, what am I missing out on and what am I giving up on? But to your point, you're adding so much life, you're adding so much health, you're adding so much good, vibes, and being around, like, just like when you're inside yourself, you'll realize that moment. And for me, it was so quick. It was like within a month, I knew that I was in the right place. Like, this is where I belong. But I think our mindset going in has to, like, really, that abundance mindset can mean so much. Even if you've tried this diet before, if you go into it this time, guaranteed, thinking about all the things you're gaining, it is going to make a difference. And luckily, I did that first day, because when I look back, I'm like, this was all something that was really lined up. I feel like, for me, where I was supposed to be, and I just didn't know it until it happened. All the things that lined up for me. And it doesn't matter, like, it's not linear, right? Like we always talk about, maybe you tried it before. It's always just come back around to it, because the success comes from sticking to something, not really just trying it. And I love that. Hi, Carl and Rocky. Hello. So glad to
and
see you all. And Don, is that
Dawn
Don?
says, but yeah. Um,
I couldn't see very good. Sorry, I
no,
don't have
that's
my
all right. It's
comments
only
on.
small there. I wanted to say you see things, and I'd been alone a long period of time, and I'm finally out, and I'm like shining bright, and I've been walking, and I'm eating fresh food, and I'm full of life. And I like present myself to people, and they're like, oh, I couldn't do that. I don't like plums. I couldn't do that. I've got kids. I couldn't do that. And I started to think, I'm like, but if people approach just the idea of healing their entire life with I can't do that. Imagine what else they is presented to them daily, and they're
Hmm.
like, I can't do that. And it's even like I wasn't expecting people to go, oh, I'll go raw. That's it. I was just expecting people to go, oh, I'll have to add more fresh food. But no
Yeah.
one did. Everyone, well, a couple people told me, I've got to do this, I've got to try this, but most people came at me with that mindset. And you were talking about, you go to the shops and you think about what you want to get, not what you don't want to get. I don't know if that's true. It's true for me now, but back when I was, let's say, fractured, like I feel like when the way I used to be was very fractured. And if I
Mhm.
went shopping, I mean, when I was younger here, because a lot of the years I was in bed or even shopping
You were
online,
sick, right?
yeah. So but a lot of my brain had to constantly be like, okay, I want everything, but I've got to have just this. And I feel like when I moved across to Raw, I can finally have everything. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like, and a lot of
Mhm.
the things that I wanted were just to patch up my fractures. That's what I feel
Mhm.
like life was like before Raw Foods, is like everything is like there's like a new herb, or there's a new program, or there's a new hair dryer, or there's a new vape, or there's a new, and it's always like, well, I've got this one, but I need this one. And if I need that one, I need what comes with it. I need the bonus pack. And whereas with Raw Foods is I can walk through a shopping center and be quite uncomfortable actually because of all the artificial lights, but be so happy that I get to go home and have one of my fulfilling salads. And this comes over to Rocky has said here. I've lost some patience in some ways, I guess. Oh, hang on. Here, this. I've fallen off raw. I will always be vegan. I'm doing raw to clear some chronic illness. I know all experiences are different, but could you give me some tips to get back on raw? The one thing which keeps me raw to this day is, what am I willing to do to stay raw? So that means that I can get cravings to this day. I feel like for a few years I was pretty good, but I can get cravings to this day. And it's not that I need any of the cooked food. Like, might want pizza or noodles. And it's like, I could go to the kitchen and do a noodle dish, right? But I will grab a bowl and just grate up some carrots, cover it in soy sauce, cover it, put some cashews in that. If I need to add extra avocado, I'm still raw. A lot of people's mindset will go at that, that's too much fat, that combination is bad. Nama shoyu, is it really raw? What are you willing to do to wake up the next day and call yourself a raw foodist? Because I swear to God, the more I do that, the more I stay. And you've spoken about how there's a slippery slope once you start including cooked food. This is what I hear so much is, and this is why I guess I'm too scared to try because I used to be too sick.
Mhm.
But a lot of people want to add in a little bit, but it slowly just snowballs. And so it's like, what I think is a really good thing to do, and this comes into abundance. Are you willing to get a bowl of anything that you're kind of half craving? It might be something sweet. Grab some raw chocolate, some dates, and some pecans. Mush it up in a bowl. The next day, you get to wake up and say, look, hey, I had that at midnight, but I'm still raw. Because what a lot of people do is they justify what they're about to do by diet skipping. And I think that comes from a place of lack. So they're like not feeling fulfilled.
Mhm.
And that comes into abundance, right? And like last night, I made my chili, lime, avocado. There was some cashews there. There's hemp seeds. There's like an abundant salad because it keeps me raw. If you just sat there and had lettuce leaves with tomato on it every single night, and you start to feel like, well, hey, I don't, you start to justify that your symptoms aren't being healed with, I don't feel fulfilled. And I think they kind of can sit hand in hand at sometimes. So people are like, oh, okay, medical medium says potatoes, I'm now going to add in potatoes. So you kind of justify you not feeling satisfied. And I think it also comes into, don't follow me, who's a raw vegan. Don't follow JJ. Don't follow anyone. You make raw your entire life. Some people can do, the sweet potato and quinoa and that really, and tofu, and that really suits them. And I wonder, in the nights they think they're going to go off keel, what are their meals to keep them high raw even? But without addressing that, and people might go, I might get allergies and all sorts of things. I'm like, trust me, you're going to get sicker if you eat cooked food. You know,
Right, right.
choose foods that you can. Yeah, see, Rocky said what happened is I wasn't getting better. And I always find that this is the other thing. When I went into this, I was very sick. I was very sick. My mindset was never about fixing myself. It was about staying raw. because I knew you feel better. Like I've never felt as good as I had on Raw. And that's all I want. I don't think I mentally was clear enough in my head to make big decisions. I'd just come
Mhm.
out of an acute psychiatric unit for like the ninth time or something. But I felt so good that that's why I created my Raw Skye, ROARSKYE.com website based on a lifestyle, because any time in my life I focused on a diet with sickness, I kind of stayed sick. So I found that, and I guess it depends. You really, if the raw food should really be making a huge difference in
I
your
think,
life. You should
you
feel
know,
good.
another thing too, I was thinking is sometimes when we frame it in our mind that we can't have something, all of a sudden that just won't go away. And I found one of the things that has helped me over time, especially if I've gotten off track, is I'm going to start to have as much raw food as I can possibly add into my diet and like kind of trick my mind into a reframe of I'm going to start eating as much as I can, and then adding raw food to the cooked food pretty much plan. And then it starts to change those taste buds. And I've kind of gotten to a point where I can, go that way and have the steamed vegetables or maybe a bowl of quinoa, and it doesn't take me there, but for a long time it did, until I stopped trying to like block that out and leave that off. Like it almost helped me to not be so rigid about not having cooked food. In a way actually brought me back to raw, where I think we try so hard to, you know, like look at these foods like as good or bad sometimes, that it makes us almost want them. Like I was said before, like the cat doesn't want to come in the room until I close the door. It's like I want that. And we also have to watch out too, especially as beginners, that we're not getting enough of something. I found one time it was healthy fats that kept me on that cycle because I wasn't satisfied. In the beginning I was, but then after a while, after I had lost weight and then maybe gained a little bit of weight, I realized I was still eating like I was that other person in that version of my raw diet. It has to kind of move with you, evolve with you. Like, as I say, like if this isn't working, there might be a nutrient or something that you might want to try to eat a little bit more if that's what the problem might be, or change the ratios a little. Like I think we are not going back to cook food most of the time because it's actually necessary. It's a lot of time it's in our mind, or it could be a craving based on something you're not getting, and that's why you can't, sustain it. And there are people, I
Mhm.
would think adding as much raw food as possible. I still think 100% raw for healing is like so necessary in a way, or at least as close as you can get. But to get there, I think framing, going back to the abundance of just trying to add raw foods to your life, could be very helpful, especially if it's about, chronic pain or weight loss. When we start crowding out the cooked with the good raw, we're automatically going to be in a better situation and keep us out of that restrictive, type of mindset.
100%. And I really think what I knew about my addictive personality is how much I crave stimulation or reward from the food. And that's been learnt over my entire life. Am I a bad person because I want at the end of the day to sit down and feel rewarded? I
Hmm.
don't think so. But how do I do that? And so, for example, let's just go through the salad that saved, I call it salad that saved my life, because there's one thing to know a salad can help you, and it's so fine to not have it fancy, but I know what my brain is like. So we're talking a salad last night which had two types of greens. Then it had Brussels sprouts, it had cabbage, it had broccolini, then it had fresh basil, it had onion, garlic, grated ginger, it had carrots, it had tomato, it had garlic, it had mandarin, lime, and lemon squeezed over the top. It had jalapeno. So we're talking garlic, onion, jalapeno. You already got ginger. You're stimulating yourself a lot there. It had mango, it had avocado as the dressing. And I'm not, if I want abundance, I'm not afraid to use something. I don't eat a lot during the day, so my salad night can be as dense as I choose. You're the same, right? You don't eat a lot
Oh,
during the day.
yeah. I mean, you were running through it, and I'm like, okay, people don't even have any clue how many things I'll put on that salad. Like, that's why I pretty much eat the same one most of the time because I know it's going to satisfy me, and I have different versions. Tonight, I'm on the olives and sauerkraut and a little bit of mustard type
Um,
vibe, but I do lettuce, kale, cucumber, carrots, pretty much like so many things. I probably sauerkraut if I have that, um, and some nights it's smaller than others, but some nights, like you said, it's like this is the
yeah.
only diet I've ever been on that I can literally eat as long as it's within these categories of fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and sprouts. I can eat as much as I want, and you can't say that about a lot of diets. Like there's always some stipulation, like you can have 2 cups of this or 1 cup of that, one protein and this, and I'm like, this is just such abundance. It If you frame it that way in your mind, it really is like you can have these big filling salads, but give it a couple of days because in the very beginning we're coming from a different diet, or if you've gotten off track, that's not going to taste good yet to you. I mean, it just realistically, a lot of times if you come off like a lot of processed foods with a very high salt and sugar, it takes a minute to get back your fresh taste, but literally in 3 days for me, when I have those fresh foods, I start craving them, and that's why I don't like to go away from it. It's happened less and less over the years. It's been a couple of holidays where I've nostalgically wanted to have a cooked Thanksgiving meal, but it's always hard to get back to completely raw.
Yeah. So I agree with all of you've said there. Like I just when it's and all you've spoken about there is all in abundance. Is if at the end of the day I want to, I just like as you can hear the bowl that I made last night, and then I put paprika and turmeric on it, put hemp seed, pumpkin seed, and when I finally plated it, I put a sprinkle of crushed cashews on top, and salt and pepper. And you are literally lighting up more to me more pathways than I ever did with anything I can remember that was cooked. And like people might say, oh, but it takes so long to make. And I'm like, that meditation, I think Michelle has said, that meditation that I do when I create the salad is practice for what I have to do every single day. So for me, doing what I do for 40 minutes creates a better version of Skye. For me, sitting at my computer, writing up things for health coaching, writing up YouTube videos, it's the same practice. Is I don't want to take shortcuts. I don't want to be like, I'm going to throw this page in the microwave, heat it up, and quickly throw it out to clients.
Yeah.
That's a huge mindset thing for me. Was I mean, at the time I couldn't read or really concentrate very well. Well, not at all really when it started. And a good practice for me was the only thing I had to do was the food was delivered is wash it and get in the kitchen and just keep putting flavors into that bowl. And it is once again that abundance, how that bowl grew into my entire life. It's literally a representation. There is so much fulfillment in all areas of my life now. And I feel like it came from a salad bowl, like because that's what I craved. And with the mineral deficiency thing keeps coming up, and if you have a mineral deficiency, especially something like iron, you end up with pica, where you chew on ice and dirt. And someone was saying, I think foods are better steamed, like broccoli or green beans. If you have a severe mineral deficiency, the satisfaction you get from just crunching on minerals, because the shape or the form of a vegetable is essentially like a crystallized like it's minerals. I love it because because I have parts of my digestive system are missing, and I've always been mineral deficient. And the satisfaction I get from like I couldn't go back, but that's like I think just what my body's learned over time. Basically, the practice of learning to look after myself is the same practice people get from me in my job, the same practice I get when I have to turn up for Pilates. The only reason there's a better Skye at the end of Pilates or the end of a day of work is because I've applied myself. And I take that same, I don't do shortcuts when it comes to what I put in my body, because what I put in my body is literally what I become. It is fundamentally the most important thing of the day,
It
because
is.
otherwise I can't do all the things. Remember what I used to look
Yes.
like? So we need
Mhm.
to think of that, like that time and effort. It's like Do I want different textures? Yes, I want some Brussels sprouts. I want broccoli. I want to drizzle it with, it might be maple syrup for you. It might be some crushed up, mashed up dates. It might be chili. It might be lime. It might be, put it all in there. And I swear when I finish that, and a lot of people say, once again, dates are very high in minerals. And that's why a lot of people and will eat dates and feel they're quite dense, very satisfied. So there's like another trick, but you don't want to
I have
just use
dates here.
tricks. Sorry?
They were right behind me, I thought, but I must have
Ah!
had the empty bag now only. But yeah, I love dates. I agree. And thinking
Uh,
about it like this, what Don said too, when we start framing it as what am I doing for my body? And if that's a steamed green bean and you're thinking, I want to get those nutrients, like when I started thinking about the benefits of raw food, they heal chronic, help me heal my chronic illness. I started wanting to put that stuff in. It's not about me saying, oh, cooked food gives me an immune reaction. It's more about going towards what you want to do for yourself that day. Like you were just mentioning, like when I'm preparing my salad, it's my downtime. It's like I've gotten off work, set up my phone, get all my stuff out, think about while I'm making this, I'm putting all this good stuff in. I'm happy. I'm still staying on my meal plan and I am starting to get into it. And it's like that's the me time when you start coupling it with that and thinking about, instead of really even making it about raw and cooked or it's more about like how am I treating myself? And if raw food is the best, most water rich, thing that I can do to hydrate my cells and keep myself healed and keep my weight at where I like it, then why wouldn't I eat that? Right? Like, and if you start to do it that way and stick to it, I really think that helps me most of the time. It's not about anything about restricting this type of food. It's this is what I want to go in my body.
mm, I just saw Michelle say this. I stay very high vibe. Like as soon as somebody starts to say low vibe words, I start to feel nauseous, or I start to, even my shoulders drop, my whole posture changes. I never thought about this, about that, because we match what we're around, right? So if you start to feel really low and you're like craving some vegan junk food or something, it's like think about who you've been around. So yes, I wasn't saying there's no minerals in steamed vegetables, but we as humans have evolved to actually crunch on things or end up with a disease called pica when we are severely mineral deficient. Like I've eaten dirt because I'm missing the part of my stomach which absorbs iron, and that happens with people. And you want it's the crunch, which in the brain has learnt, it's hardwired over time that we're getting minerals. But it doesn't mean that lots of things don't have minerals, including the juice. It's just we as animals is what I was saying there. So
Mhm. And again, if you're, if that's what keeps you healthy, I would say, if you find that you like some type of nutrient that you're getting from a steamed vegetable, but you can, you're still adding an abundance of raw food, then go for that because telling yourself you can't have it if you enjoy it in the beginning might be actually pushing you the other way. Like that's my theory anyway, because Don, it sounds like you have a lot of knowledge. You've read a lot of the information, so I think we all have all that knowledge in us. We just have to start making yourself the priority is what I think. The one thing that I've learned, like you said, your health is the main thing of everything. It keeps even my mind in a positive vibe.
yeah, and also I don't necessarily think people should just wake up and go raw. You have no idea how learning to look after yourself is the key. And it always bring back to how shocked I was when I first got well, and I could read and connect and got into this raw community, and everyone's like, you're supposed to like have this detox experience, which is supposed to be horrific. And in my brain, I'm like, holy cow, most of my life was horrific. If that was presented with me, thank God it wasn't to me, I would
Mhm.
never have gone through it. I don't think my body would have taken it. I have to say, it wasn't as much about the raw foods as it was that when I ate the raw foods, I felt good, and I'd never felt good. And then I had to learn to look after myself, which I feel most of us never have. So if cooked food is part of that, Or even where you're at is maybe it's just stopping alcohol first, and then it's stopping processed food, and then it's going vegetarian. But along the way, if you're learning to look after yourself, I promise you, in 20 years' time, you'll still be at some level of looking after yourself. Whereas if you do it from a place of like, I've got this disease, I'm broken, I need a protocol, I need to suffer, I need to go through it, this will take me to a good place. I don't see that ever getting many people to a good place. On the back of that, look at Lisa. Lisa, was it 10 or 20 years? I think 10 years. She tried to go raw multiple times, like protocols, like you do the juice and then you do this, and then there's another different protocol until she learned to love herself, doing her 3 big meals a day with, she does fruit, but she does a lot of salad, she does a lot of living foods, and she does it her way. She's not ever deviated again, but she had to learn to look after herself. And that is something I just want people to know. If you are doing someone else's protocol and there's any area in that protocol that creates lack, watch that lack not just spread inside of you, but spread into other areas of your life where you can't help but what I call diet hop or protocol hop, where you are constantly hopping and something goes wrong and you're like, right now I need juicing. Right now I need to water fast. This is that time where I have to do this. And then those people tend to project. They tend to be like anyone doing anything that's in self-love. They're like, you're not pushing us. And it's like, it's a representation of what's going on inside of you always. What's coming out of you is always a representation of what's happening inside of you. So what I want for people so much, and I wish kids and wish this was taught in schools, is how you look after yourself. Like, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about your job and don't worry too much about the people around you, as long as they are care for you. You've got to learn to look after yourself so the people around you can watch you and be like, oh, wow, like that's how she got there. Like I think I'm far along now and people think, oh, you're just lucky. And then I'm like, hang on, here's the card I was dealt. And
Right.
it's not even made my own luck. It's I had to learn to look after myself. So
And that's the thing, like, sometimes we realize that we had it right from the beginning. Like, for me, like when I just came into it, very much abundant mindset, excited, looked at it like an exciting adventure. I get to try all these new, vegetables, and I'm going to put these big salads together and these fruits. That excitement starts to like make you want to do something. And when you start to really do a lot of restriction, or I can only have this is off limits, especially in the beginning, I think you're right. I think we run away from things that we don't want to do. If you ask somebody like, do you want to go to the park and play, or do you want to go like sit in a 4 hour, class of something that you don't really get into? Of course, we want to do what we want to do. So our mind will reconstruct a way to do the things we want always. So making yourself feel in love with your diet, and that way the foods can love you, but you have to learn, like you said, your way to do it. I think it's perfect for me the way that I eat, and Skye, you have this beautiful way that you eat that we both really enjoy and we get into, and it works for our lifestyle, it works for our jobs. But if you don't ever find that, you'll always go back to what your comfort zone is, I think.
yeah, and I think if any time I've started to project outwards or judge another on their raw food diet, I was actually coming from a place of lack. Like that energy, turn it around inside and just keep working on yourself, because how much further I've got in life by just using all my energy on working. And I always say as well is, when you decide to make a change, the thing I had to learn about myself was I tend to go and study it. Become that expert who's read the books, watched the podcasts, got in the communities, but all of that energy I decided to not do that. That energy was now going to be used on me. So physically me, like even to the point of when I finally got up, was having a shower. I would pull my little computer and put a little fire on the screen and just manicure all my nails. Like that
Oh,
whole day was going to
sounds
be
fun.
like, because it was winter, so I was
I'm
making like a
gonna come
mop
to
fire,
Skye's
little
spa.
little flames in front of my heater. Like I wasn't going to sit there and go through trying to program myself when it never got me anywhere. Like I was now almost 40 and that did not work. And I guess not being able to concentrate or read very much was a blessing because I couldn't sit in that space, which
Hmm.
I think really messes around. Like remember, because it's not just information we're getting, we're also getting blue and red lights. So most of the day was spent outdoors and grounding and about me. And I'd never taken that approach before. And that to me was part of that abundance and self love lifestyle. I did want to also say that when I went raw, of course, I let go of alcohol and vaping, and I hadn't really had a lot of processed foods, to be honest. I think I had drunk recently of coming off the back. So I hadn't been drinking daily. I drank three more times after moving out. So in 3 months or 2 months, I drank three more times. And as I didn't feel, there were parts where it didn't feel good, but I felt I was up and I felt a hell of a lot better than I did. I wasn't scared to have any food I needed. I could have a day mostly on avocados. That does not bother me. It didn't affect me, as in like send me backwards. As long as I stayed eating fresh food, I was fine. So I just wanted to clear that up. That I didn't feel great, but like there was no like rashes or like I felt worse when I stopped those things and ate cooked food, is what I want to say. But eating the fresh food and quitting all of those things was just so much easier. But like, yeah, of course there was a period, but it was probably no different than if it was any other way of eating. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's the other thing we were I think we might have mentioned this before, but if you are stressing about your diet rather than enjoying it, I think, that detox thing, like if I had tried to do 30 days of juice or something like that, my very first time doing this, coming from where I was, the lifestyle I was leading, and just knowing that I probably would have gotten through maybe 2 days and been like, nah, I'm going to go ahead and just grab my cheeseburger or whatever it was I normally ate. Right. But I think doing it like in a slow progression, especially not for everybody, because I think everybody has their own way that they learn and see things. I know, even the cat agrees with me. But she okay, 1 second, baby. She's
Oh,
like, "It's dinner time, mommy." But I was thinking sometimes getting into it, putting in as many raw foods as you can to start with, or how you really go into it and finding what you like, and finding those raw combinations can be so helpful because the restrictive mindset can turn you back the other way. So I think the detox, maybe there comes a time where you want to try the detox protocol, but maybe it's not right for everyone right at the beginning, even though it could maybe do some better healing right away. What happens if you don't ever do this lifestyle because of it? So I would just say be open to your entry points or your restart points. Maybe every time you try to restart and go really, really strict on only fruit or only this particular, thing, sometimes might be turning you back the other way, and a slower move into it. It's like we like the all or nothing mindset and we want to go all in, because a lot of people are like, I know I am like overachiever. I want to do it all right, always from the beginning, but really it's not like a clear path like that. I think the path for you is the path that keeps you the healthiest that you can be, and all of your other parts of health are put together too. Like I've had to learn over time, it wasn't just the diet. It's all about, like you said, nature, and really opening your mind up to your own relaxation, because that stress can cause things in your body to go wrong. It's very interesting, the whole, like, it leads you in with the food. The more raw food makes you start loving yourself over and over again in different ways.
exactly. Very, very well said. So I was just going to bring up so
Koala
even
mama made me want to breathe.
yeah, no, but even peeing is detoxing. So I was peeing before I ate the raw foods, and I was breathing before I ate the raw foods. I'm talking about people who go on this and there's a whole lot of symptoms or things that they suffer with. Those I don't suffer through. So maybe I wasn't clear enough. So I'm talking about, because I did say that I think if I ate cooked food, I was feeling worse. So I'm talking about, like, people talk about a whole lot of things. I always hear a lot about rashes and, I guess, shakes and depression. And if I had let myself get there, I would have created a block around raw foods, as in, like, every time I would think about doing it, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I felt good, but I don't want to suffer. And so that's why I think maybe it was the avocados. I don't know. Something for me was just I felt lighter and lighter, and there was no new detoxifying symptoms which made me suffer. Like, I just kept feeling better and better. So just so there's no confusion there.
I think that happened to both of us. Like we started, and you had
Yeah,
so many, such a longer journey to go because you had been through so much. But even in a short way, like mine, it was like, oh, I feel all this energy. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to do it a little longer. Oh, I don't even feel back pain now. Oh, I'm going to do it longer. Wait,
that,
I
yeah,
don't.
that's what.
My weight's going down and I'm not starving. I love this. Like it's like you built on it like that. Like when you ate the raw food, you started
Yeah,
feeling better. It was like so like primal, right? Like we knew what we were supposed to be eating without even knowing, like without reading anything yet. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a raw vegan diet until 2019. So I had
I didn't
a
even
lot of
think I
learning.
knew I was on it. The only way I knew what was on it was I was vegan, and I went onto Instagram, and there was a whole lot of people who were vegan, who were raw vegans, and they had like bright salads and bright fruit, and I'm like, okay, I'm that. But as for reading, I couldn't do that. But you're right, that's what it was. What guided me is there was less and less pain in my body, and I'm like, okay, I now have to make this choice, Guy, to go down a path where I make choices based on feeling good. And that was how it evolved for me. So depression is worse. I had highs and lows. They wouldn't last more than 1 or 2 days. I did when I tried to let go of, well, I did let go of salt. I think 3 months in, I remember crashing out, and I ended up with a sodium deficiency. And I do well with just a pinch of salt, like each day. That works for me now.
And that's another thing what you just said there. You figured that out, like that's part of our learning progression. Your pinch of salt works for you to keep you feeling good and not be deficient. So that's why we can't follow someone else's, I think
Yeah.
plan. That's very true. Like I think it's good to have a guide and a coach, but the right one that's going to let it be something that you're able to, also explore how it works for you.
Well, we want everybody to be body guided. So
Mhm.
you shouldn't, which I just want to bestow on everyone, to learn not to suffer anymore. So whether that means that, you might stay high raw for much longer and slowly taper off. It's like when I was on a whole lot of medications, and anytime they took away, especially things like opioids, they don't just tell you you're not having it anymore. The detoxification of that is just too much. The withdrawals are too much for a human body to go through. So what they do is they taper like 10% of what you're on off. So the body should adjust and you don't suffer. And that's the same principle I probably took on, and I do take on. Anytime I do a jump, I find I create blocks in myself. I don't create a better life. I may feel good on the cleanse, but then when I reflect back, I'll be like, oh, I did feel really good on grapes. But man, the list of things, like I felt isolated. I couldn't eat around people. I had cravings up the wahoo. I would lay in bed at night just looking at savory foods. Like, as much as I could, I have these moments of feeling amazing. Is I do feel amazing, grounded, connected, having my routine in place, um, following like my body wants, um, and yeah, especially if you're coming off the last of meds, definitely titrate, where you crush it up, put it in water, and then you take 10% of the water. But even before you get to titration, is they just slowly take away a small percentage of any medication. And I live by that principle today, where it's just us as humans aren't meant to just do massive jumps, because then we create blocks, and then you've got to ask, why are we jumping? We're trying to get out of a situation, but sometimes working through slowly can teach us more tools than just jumping out of the box there. Uh,
Right.
so, did you have any physical therapy being bedridden for so long? Nope. Once I got moving, I wasn't going near doctors. I wasn't going near anyone. I was determined. And plus, the raw food just slowly just gave me more and more. It's like getting, I hear Dr. Morse talk about these stories about people who are paraplegic and stuff and start to get movement back in their limbs. I mean, I definitely wasn't at that stage. So
It's like
yeah,
this magic, thing that's out there that I feel so blessed that I know about and that I discovered, whether it was a little mistake of seeing this short YouTube video that changed my life. And, just I would say if this could be it for you if you're watching this.
that's right. That's right. And I mean, everyone has their aha moment where they've got to that point where it's like enough is enough. And look, once again, I'll say it again, is feel good with what works for you and be proud of where you're at. Like if you're high raw or even eating just whole foods, like the things that you've already let go of,
Hmm.
most people on this planet could not imagine. Like you're still in that 99.99999%. And if you feel good, but because if you start pushing yourself, we find reasons to like rush back to comfort. So just keep working on you, loving you, and making your life, making it a lifestyle. Don't try and fix one part of your body with food. Try and just feel good.
I agree. I completely agree. I just saw a couple of people I hadn't even seen. I finally figured out where the comments were. I was like, "Oh, hi, Uncaged and Don and Koala Mama. How are you all? Rocky, I think I said hi to you. I'm so excited when all our friends are here joining us in. Hi on Raw Michelle. Wow,
Yeah, and
so
I
many
do agree. I agree with Koala Mama that fast can be great, but I think a person should learn first to look after themselves. So when they come off in a fast, because every time I do a fast, I'm faced with massive cravings, and you're not mentally prepared. So if someone's never learnt to even have whole foods, they're gonna go back, and then they're like, "Oh, now I need to cleanse." I always say, like, learn to look after yourself on like a raw foods or high raw or whole food lifestyle, and then you can just navigate. I'm going to do a water fast. I'm going to do some juicing because then you know what you're coming back to. Otherwise, a lot of people go on. So many of my clients go and have come to me and they've been on long juice fasts, and they were determined to then do raw foods straight afterwards. None of them have done it, and then they're now like relearning to look after themselves. But I do agree. So, like, lots of people I know have had amazing results with fasts, but always don't think that your brain just knows what to do afterwards, if that
I
makes sense.
agree, and I think we learned eventually to listen to our body. Like, I don't even have times that I eat. I literally just, when I feel hungry is when I eat. And if we start to really start being in tune with our body, there might be a moment where you feel that fast. And I know, like, there are lots of benefits to it, but if you start off like that, it might, like, again, what you mentioned, I agree that it could, really that restriction mindset could start to either become a cycle or, but I think everybody has their own, some people like love fasting and it's really helped heal them too and gotten them into raw foods. So I think, like, it's definitely benefits both ways, but I would say just don't look at something one way or the other, right? I think that's the whole thing to it, is how can you live in abundance, and if feeling good is abundance, that can look a bunch of different ways for you.
Yeah, I would love to make a website where people can just go on like a Facebook and just put in their healing stories, because I believe everyone who ends up on like high raw or raw foods has like these incredible stories, like unbelievable stories, but none of them are the same. And I really feel so many people come into this thinking that it's all the same. And like one of the greatest lessons that you can learn is like to own it. I would love so much to one day be able to do something like that. But I'm actually going to have to go or wind this up because I have
Oh,
Kiko
yeah.
next, straight off
I
the
didn't
back of
know
this.
it got so quick. I mean, that went quick tonight. I'm
It
sorry. I
did,
didn't
it
even see
did.
the
And
time.
thank you guys for being so involved. Like
Thank you.
all the comments and questions, it's like it's all about us all together and
S
sharing everything. So, all right. Well,
Thank
we'll
you,
see you next
Skye.
week.
I'll
Thank
see
you,
you and
JJ.
Kiko in a moment here.
You will. I'll see you guys in 2 minutes.
See you,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you.